This has fans concerned. A loss on Monday against Denver wasn't just any loss, it was a statement. Zach Taylor and the Bengals have a lot of work to do if they're going to turn this season around, which is showing a trend that is getting fans concerned if they're going to be able to recover and make a run for the playoffs in 2025. Welcome to the jungle. This is Isaac Coffman with Bengals Digest. Happy to see you Bengals fans despite the circumstances. If you want to be joining in on the community, get your voice heard, comment down below. Make sure you smash that subscribe as well so you'll get in on the discussion as we have so much to talk about on another loss that was not pretty. Just going to say it. I mean, this was not your average loss. Going back to last week, the Minnesota game, it was the franchise worst loss. 38 points. It was a just absolute catastrophe. 5 turnovers. And that's what one can look to. 5 turnovers in that game were a big cause of why the score was so lopsided, why it was such a blowout. The Denver Monday night game, there were no turnovers for the Bengals. There was actually a turnover for Denver. There was a Demetrius Knight interception in the end zone. It was one of the few highlights for the Bengals. But other than that, it was arguably, in my opinion, it was worse than the Minnesota game. The Denver game just showcased that the Bengals look lost. That just was not the Bengals offense with Joe Burrow or without. There's playmakers on this team, and whether it was a lack of coaching, whether it was just a lack of focus on the players' part, or a combination of both, frankly, it was not pretty. Just putting it simply, you can look to the Minnesota game and say, well, the turnovers, there could have been a chance that they wouldn't have been blown out, probably wouldn't have won that game, but they wouldn't have been blown out. They still could have had a close game without those turnovers. This one, they just looked overmatched the entire game. So where does this leave fans? Well, it's a fair question to think, where do they go from here? I get it. They were in Denver. They were against a tough defense. But that was not a good performance. Jake Browning finished 14 of 25 for 125 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, anything like that. But just he did nothing. He, in my opinion, other than the coaching and other phases, because the defense also struggled. It had a few key moments. It looked pretty good on. As I mentioned, Demetrius Knight had an interception. There's a few times they actually stopped Denver, but they still show weaknesses as well. The special teams, you have Ryan Rico with a 24-yard punt. All 3 phases they failed at. But I do look at Jake Browning, and that's where before he showcased that he could win a few games for the Bengals. When he had filled in a couple years ago, he was able to take advantage of the Bengals' talent with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That Denver game, he looked lost. There was, in fact, several points in that game where it was even brought out by Troy Aikman on broadcast that he had Jamar Chase open. Jamar Chase was wide open at one point. He would have delivered the ball. They would have had at least a touchdown. Instead, they finished with 3 points. Denver with 28. They lose by 25. It's just, it's sickening, honestly, as a Bengals fan. There's a lot of hopes for this team. There's talent on this team. It's got holes, certainly. It's not a flawless team. It's not one that doesn't have, from top to bottom, just a perfect team, but there's talent on this team. They showed that they were 1 game away last year from making the playoffs, but it just didn't happen. So what do you do? What do you do there? Well, certainly they can look at what are they going to do with their attitude, because I think Jamar Chase put it best. This is what he had to say after being interviewed. You just got to want it. End of the day, you got to want it. Today, it didn't look like we wanted it. That's simply put, if you were watching that game, that is exactly what it looked like. They just didn't want it as much as Denver did. And that's where the frustration comes in. This team seems hungry. They say all the right things. They seem to do all the right things. But no, that's not the performance you saw on Monday. When you're watching the game, it was quite painful. Just put it frankly. I mean, there was very few and far between. I go back to that Demetrius Knight interception. That was pretty much it. That was going to be potentially a touchdown. Instead, it was an interception, and now they're back to, a touchback. Even then, they were stopped, and it after that, Denver ended up scoring anyway before the half. But there's for you to talk about. Good. Here is their possession at the end, and just punt after punt after punt. This offense just completely sputtered. There's nothing really to show for it. And that's just shocking. I mean, you're going to sit here, even with Jake Browning as your backup quarterback, you would think there would be something there. So I would say the blame goes to, I don't know what it is with Jake Browning. Is he playing scared? Is it because of that Minnesota game? Is it because of the Jacksonville where he threw 3 interceptions? He was throwing a lot more shorter passes. There was also another time where he missed Mike Gesicki wide open, and he went with a more safe route. And that there's this balance, right? Because on the flip side, he was forcing the ball. That's where those interceptions were coming. But now on the flip side, he's going the safe route, and they aren't pushing the ball down the field. They got to get it figured out. There's so many questions. There's so many unanswered questions of why. Why is this offense not producing? I think, again, you can go back to Jake Browning, but also I'm gonna put Zach Taylor into that. The play calling. That has always been called into question. And you wonder if that's where Jamar Chase, it was caught on camera on the sideline. That's what's kind of making the news right now, is Jamar Chase showing his frustration to Zach Taylor. Could that certainly have been the case of questioning Zach Taylor's play calling? We don't know. You can't hear the conversation. The interviewed afterwards, Zach Taylor and Jamar Chase, it was just, we're competitive. We were just voicing our frustration. Getting the ball into playmakers' hands is what Jamar Chase said. So kind of alluding to that, probably wanting the ball. You got to find ways to get Jamar Chase the ball, and that can come back to play calling. So lots of questions left unanswered. And if you want to chalk it up to anything else, 11 penalties. 11 penalties. Sloppy play. Not good. Not good at all. Even Zach Taylor acknowledged it. This is what he had to say about the penalties. He said it is a lack of discipline. As a whole, it's not nearly good enough. We're a team that should not be having that problem. We have to get it corrected. We can't just hand the other team 5 yards and put us behind the 8 ball, especially dealing with some of the stuff we've got to deal with on the road. We've got to get it cleaned up. 100%. And I would even go, it's not nearly good enough. It's not good enough, period. 11 penalties. You had more penalties than first downs in that game. If you did not watch that game, that tells you how bad. From the eye test, you just watch that game. It's just like, my goodness. What answers do they have? Where do they go from here? It's not good. It's getting fans concerned for good reason. That Minnesota game got fans concerned, certainly. I mean, who blames you to be concerned there? This is the kind of game, doing back-to-back, where you have a game like Minnesota and then a game like Denver. Some coaches lose their job over that. That's going to be what's going to be the conversation going forward now. Is Zach Taylor going to have a job by the end of the season? The rate things are going, I would be shocked, honestly. That's just how bad that performance was. I'm just still speechless. It's just amazing how unprepared the team looked. And this is worst case scenario, in my opinion, because going back to Jamar Chase showing his frustration, if you lose that locker room, that's kind of that feather in Zach Taylor's cap. If you lose the locker room, if you don't have a quarterback that can move the ball, they're gonna just spiral at that point. And that's a tough season to watch as a fan. When you see a team with so much talent, has the potential, even with Jake Browning, if Jake Browning can get things worked out, it doesn't mean everything is going to be working perfectly. They still have, again, the defense to work out. They need to go back to basics on special teams. And yes, the play calling. The play calling is going to be under a microscope. You have Brian Callahan giving up play calling. So maybe that's going to be the next topic of discussion. If Zach Taylor's not having his job threatened, is it the play calling? Is he going to give up the play calling to Dan Pitcher? Is he going to be the one that kind of has full reins of that. He said in interviews that it's a collective effort. It's not just him, but at the end of the day, he's the one that's kind of in on the play calling. And so far, that's just not been working. So many things for this Bengals team to work on. As a Bengals fan, I'm sorry to say this is just a tough pill to swallow. And now you have Detroit coming up. Even at home, you just hope that they can put it together. We'll continue to hope. We'll continue to hope it's going to go good. But right now, this stings a little bit. Just that, not the fact that they lost, but it's how they lost. So stay tuned. In the meantime, fans are not going to be very excited. I think that's the tone that I'm sensing right now. We want to hear from you guys, from the fans. Comment below. What did you think of the performance? What are your confidence going forward? Do you think they're going to be able to turn this thing around? We want to hear from you guys, so make sure you comment. And again, hit that subscribe button if you've not already. So that's going to do it for now, guys. As we say, Uday.